How to encourage positive behavior in your child. Every parent is looking out for alternative to the bad behavior of a child or a negative behavior of a child, and they cannot withstand if a child is using a bad word or if a child is going to behave in an abnormal way in front of others. So when all these negative behaviors are reflected by the child, the parents always want to develop that positive behavior, and they are putting a lot of pressure or a lot of stress on that. Are you a parent who are really worried about it? Would you like to develop this positive behavior in your child? First, you need to understand the basic two fundamentals of developing the positive behavior. When I say positive, the opposite of it is negative. Now what happens is, always as parents, we all resist the negativity in the child. That is a wrong mentality. And negativity is a process which happens through a natural development in a child. So first, as parent, remember that we should not resist negativity. In fact, we should just observe what is negative in the child and make sure what is the way in which we can help them to develop the positive behavior. Second important point on handling this negativity in child is, the moment you see the child is behaving in a wrong or a negative way, you react and you behave in such a way that you also get attracted to this negativity and you reflect a negative behavior. For suppose your child is using a bad word, you're reacting and slapping the child. Or when your child is misbehaving in front of others, you react in such a way that you pull the child and get into a room. So all this, your behavior is also reflected in a negative way. So you're handling that negativity again in a negative form. This itself is telling you that you're not trying to resist the negativity, you're trying to pull the negativity again and again into your life. So you're conveying to your child that behaving negative is acceptable. So don't handle the negative or bad behavior in a reactive way. Instead, try to make sure and nullify that process by not reacting, but instead responding to it or acting them in silence. You can respond to those behaviors in silence, where the child will actually dilute or saturate that negative behavior and automatically it will go away. So remember these two fundamentals. Negative or bad behavior is a natural process, and if you see that behavior, you should not reacting to it. Instead, respond to it in a positive way or be in silence, which will negate the negativity. So these are the two important fundamentals which you need to keep in mind. Myself, Rohini, your natural frequency parenting coach. In this video, we are going to see two parts. One part on how to develop effective communication to build the positive behavior. Second is about the practical implementation points. But I am going to explain you the first 7 points of part 1 video and second 7 points in the next upcoming video. In the 7 points, the last 2 points are the most important points which you should definitely watch it. So make sure that you watch this video till the end. First and foremost is building the quality time with the child. When I say building a quality time, I did not say spending. When I say spending, many people say, I don't have time to spend with my child. If you don't have time to spend with your child, then forget about developing a positive behavior. You need to have the time to spend. That means you're not having the priority. If you have the priority, the time automatically comes. But when the time comes, there has to be a consistency factor. That spending that time has to be regular. That's why I did not use the term spending quality time, building the quality time. So every day, at least spending 15 to 30 minutes of time with the child, where you don't correct their mistakes, where you don't pinpoint what is something wrong with them, you just spend with them and accept them with all their mistakes. So you are accepting the child with all their mistakes. That is the time you are actually spending quality time. That means I am telling my child, I accept you completely with all your mistakes, all your bad behavior, because I am your parent. This means you're spending a quality time. You're building a strong relationship with the child. So first and foremost is build a quality time by regularly spending 30 minutes every day with your child. Second point is about being a role model. Now, when I say be a role model, everybody misunderstands it. Like for example, if you have to develop your child in a good way, you have to behave in a good way. That is not what I meant. Be a role model means every child, when they grow up, when they are 5 years, they need to learn certain values to become independent. When they are 8 years, they need to even more decide for themselves. So every year demands the child to learn something new. At that time, you have to make a role model in that particular process. For example, a 5-year-old child can keep the books by themselves. Now you can be a role model by showing them how to do their work by themselves. But an 8-year-old child has to think for themselves what they need to choose for their homework or what they need to choose for something. So they can think independently. So be a role model how to make them think independently. So every year of child requires some values to be learnt by them. To make the values to be learnt by them, you become a role model by showing it to them regularly in different dimensions. That is the second point, be a role model. Third important point is express how your child's behavior really affects you. But when you're expressing is very important. Whenever you're playing with your child a board game or in a play outside time, what you can do is at that point of time when you're really in a happy mood, at that time talk to the child about some negative behavior that they exhibited in some other place and it really made you feel hurted about it. So when you're going to express your child, when your child is happy, the child will be in a receptive mode to understand what you're conveying and it will imbibe that information and try not to reflect in other places. This is one way you can correct the child's negative behavior by talking to them when they are in happy, receptive mode. This is third important point. Fourth important point is recognize their good behavior, praise them, don't reward them. Many parents make a mistake wherein which you behaved so well, I would like to give you this as reward, give this as reward and gives lot of objects like a junk food or a gift. Whenever your child is behaving good, pat them, praise them with your words, where you encourage them to behave more in that way rather than telling that you're behaving very nicely, I'll give you the game. You're behaving very nicely, I'll buy you this toy. Don't reward any kind of good behavior. Rather praise them and encourage them to behave more in such way. If you're going to reward them, then what they think is, oh, if I behave good, I get this. If I don't behave, I don't get this. Don't try to barter the good behavior with any kind of objects. Rather, stick on to the good words where you can praise them regularly and just pat them to behave more in such way. That is the fourth important point. Fifth point is about the body language. Engage with your child at their level, which I have already pointed out in many of my previous videos where I have told whenever you're speaking to your child, don't stand and look at them in the down position and make them feel low. You have to kneel down, see in their position and make them feel equal to you where you're not treating lower than you. So what happens is when you're going to engage your child equally in all levels in their eye level, the child will grab the message from you and try to reflect that as soon as possible. Because many parents keep complaining, my child is not following my instruction. One of the most important reason is you're always giving the instruction in such a level where you make the child feel lower than you. Make the child feel equal at your level and give them the instruction. The instruction gets reflected from the child's end so easily. Now the last two important points which is going to build a strong trustable bond between you and your child. First one is be an active listener. In all of the previous circumstances where I pointed out be a role model, spend quality time, have a play time with them. In all the time, whenever your child is speaking to you or making a communication with you, you should be in a position where you are an active listener by looking at your child. I have seen many parents when a child is talking to you, you keep talking and they will be doing some cooking work or watching their mobile or looking somewhere else in a shelf. No, don't do that. When your child is speaking to you, look at them, sit with them. It will be boring. Children will have broken sentences. They will not speak properly. You may not be feeling good about listening to them. It's okay. But whenever your child is speaking to you, give them the full 100% attention and show them that whatever they speak is important to you and you are an active listener without interrupting. When the child is speaking, give them enough space and time to reflect that completely so that they realize the importance that you are an active listener. When you are going to repeat becoming an active listener to your child, you create a strong bond with your child where your child sees it. Whenever I say something, my mama will sit and listen, and she will always be there for me. This is a message where you cannot keep saying, baby, I will always be there for you. These words doesn't have any kind of emotion if you are not an active listener. Last important point is keep up the promises, otherwise don't make any promises. The most important point of building a trust factor between you and your child, which creates a strong bond. What is that? Whenever you're promising to your child, I'll come back from office soon, I will take you to this place during this weekend. Whenever you're promised to your child, either keep up the promise or don't make the promise. Or on the other hand, don't make any false promises where you will say, hey, you finish this, I will give you that. You keep making false promises because you want your child to immediately do something, but in your mind you will not be ready to give them that. So what you do is you make the child commit to do an activity falsely and you don't give up that. First of all, you should not use that scenario at all where you want your child to do something and you give them back in reward is a wrong promise. Second thing is, when you're going to do that repeatedly, the child loses the trust in you. This is one point. The second one is, when you're really committing something that I will come back from office soon, every day you're telling, but every day you're not coming. You will tell your child, I'll take you to this place or I'll do this thing for you, but regularly you're not doing that. Don't keep up that promise. If you're making promise, do it. If you're not making promises, at least children will not lose the trust factor in you. If the children slowly lose the trust factor in you, definitely they will not reflect any positive behavior which you want them to show. Only when the trust between you and your child is strong, they will start reflecting what you want from them. Otherwise, they will not reflect. So the last two important point is, become an active listener to your child regularly. Keep up the promises, otherwise don't make the promises. This is the part 1 video of developing an effective relationship with your child to bring up a positive behavior. On the second part, what we are going to see is 7 important points which is practically implementable and which can give you higher amount of results where the children from their bad behavior will easily transform into their good behavior or a naturally wanted behavior. So in part 2 video, I'll be giving about 7 important strategical points which you can implement right away at your home, which will be easy, which will be effective for all the age groups. So to watch the part 2 video, subscribe to our channel where we will be updating the part 2 video soon. If you like this video, hit on the like button. Myself Rohini, your natural frequency parenting coach.